The Nevada Lifespan Respite Care Coalition is working to promote awareness about and access to respite services. This presentation is designed to help you understand more about respite and help you identify those around you who need to know about respite. Caregivers are an underserved group, often unseen and unrecognized for their contribution to the health and well-being of others. We have an important message for them. Respite refuels caregivers. Caregiving is a role that comes when someone is ill, has health care conditions that limit self-care and independence, has a disability, or has developed other functional limitations that require support and assistance throughout life. Most caregiving is temporary, but caregiving that continues to be needed long-term, or when care needs are increasing, points strongly to a caregiver who needs respite to be a part of their life. Caregiving always brings new stressors and new time demands. Whether a parent, spouse, or significant other, whether you prefer being called a care partner or just a good friend, caregiving is a primary role added to the relationship. Caregiving may be a career choice for some, but most primary caregivers are not being paid. They may be parents, spouses, siblings, or friends who are making themselves available to help meet the needs of someone they care about, and they become what is needed for the role. Giving up other courses through life in order to help care for someone in need turns caregiving into a primary role, and choices made to provide care may require caregivers to quit work, reduce hours, or otherwise limit the time spent in other roles with other people in order to be available to someone in need. These choices all trigger the need for respite to be included in the plan for care. Typically, caregivers determine to do all they can for their children with disabilities or special health care needs throughout their lifetime, and to support loved ones in need at home until death or until their own incapacity. Recognizing a lifelong disability or any decision to live with or bring a loved one into their home to provide care is another trigger for the need for respite. No one can provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week care long-term without relief. Respite is relief. While the focus of care is always on the individual with special health care or assistance needs, often unrecognized and overlooked are the needs of caregivers who have these care demands placed on them, or the awareness that these care demands carry physical and emotional impact. Caregivers may have carried this load alone for years of devoted care, and it should not surprise anyone that stress, exhaustion, depression, and even early death result. The prescription needed for caregivers is respite, regular breaks from caregiving. Care needs may ultimately result in an out-of-home placement, but this is never preferred and is always considered a last resort. Whether caregiving is meant to delay or prevent an out-of-home placement, or is just the honorable path that comes with having a child or caring for a family relative, no one can be there for another 100% of the time without negative consequences. Respite takes care of the caregiver by giving them back some time to have a break in care, to have some uninterrupted personal time of their own, time to rest, relax, spend time with family and friends, have me time or something to participate in or look forward to. Respite also includes, of course, providing care for those family members, such as siblings, who also need care, so the primary caregiver really gets a break. Respite may look different for each individual, but is very necessary to find. Just knowing they have a break coming up may get caregivers through the most difficult moments of care. Having respite resources is especially important when an emergency comes up. Planning for respite is essential for caregivers. Respite is time for self-care. But how do you take care of your own health if you can't get to your doctor's appointments, go to the gym, or even take a walk? What happens to important relationships when you never have time to connect, enjoy activities together, or have time for a conversation? Caregiving may take away more than just time. There are true physical, mental, and emotional stresses associated with caregiving, which makes respite both a preventative and a restorative health measure. Medical professionals need to know when a caregiver has taken such a role. Respite Refuels Caregivers is not just a slogan. Respite allows caregivers to recharge, regroup, and return to caregiving more rejuvenated. Not having to worry for a moment about the care of a loved one is a precious gift. Respite allows time to make sure important relationships and activities are still part of a caregiver's life. Each caregiver's respite need is unique to their own situation, but studies show that even a 2 to 4 hour block of time, hopefully on a regular basis, makes a big difference. Time for a dinner out, a movie, a walk or hike, time to spend with the kids. Maybe it's a mini vacation or an overnighter without interruption. Time to take a class, attend an event, go to church or see a friend. Time to take a nap, read a book, or take up a hobby. Respite isn't meant to provide coverage while at work, but during times when caregiving would likely interrupt participation in family or school events, watching a game with friends, or having a date night out. It is not meant to take over care, but to create those windows of opportunity for having a life outside of your caregiving responsibilities. Respite for a caregiver may also be used to help prepare others to step in if there's ever an emergency that affects a caregiver's ability to provide care. Respite needs to be in place sooner rather than later. While many caregivers can rely on friends or family for an occasional caregiving break, that's usually hard to arrange on a regular basis. Caregivers always try to avoid placing care demands on others. Respite is a way to share those care demands, not take them away. We know finding respite may take some effort. It might take a little creativity. It might be that a combination of respite resources will work best. In-home respite care, a facility-based day program, an activity-based play group or exercise club, a church group, or volunteers may provide the temporary care needed. Even someone providing a ride or going along to an appointment could free up respite time for a caregiver. Paid or unpaid, frequent or occasional, one person or several, respite is worth the time and effort to arrange, and you are not alone. The Nevada Lifespan Respite Care Coalition strives to identify resources that will help caregivers find respite, and often the financial assistance to pay for it. Visit nvcaregivingrelief.org for more information. All 17 Nevada counties are served by a Nevada Care Connection Resource Center that can assist caregivers in finding supports and services that can make caregiving easier, better, and allow caregivers to get a break from care. Call and ask about respite. Our Pass Along card can be shared with others who you recognize are providing care for another. Look around and pay attention to those who are making this lifelong commitment. Tell them Respite Refuels Caregivers and encourage them to call and get connected to respite. You may give them the needed encouragement to explore something they may not even know exists. The Nevada Lifespan Respite Care Coalition thanks you for your participation in ongoing efforts to recognize and identify caregivers among us and to help them access respite services. Please be our eyes and ears to the caregivers in your community. Encourage them to seek respite. Remind them that caregiving should not be a solitary commitment and that they shouldn't be doing it alone. Teach them that respite refuels caregivers. Visit nvcaregivingrelief.org for more information.